Very good morning, everybody. Very quickly, some mundane detail. If I can ask you all to please ensure that your mobile phones are off. And we're ready to kick off. When I was 12 years old, I was kicked out of a primary school screening of Charlotte's Web by my demonic headmaster, who accused me of being a wimp for bursting into tears at the rather tragic end of the film. I mention this because the Nichol family historically has not been blessed with emotional fortitude at times such as this, and so there may well be a tear or two before the day is out. And that's entirely understandable. It's human nature to experience grief and sadness at a time like this. But I'm pretty certain that through the course of this morning, there will be laughter, there will be great memories, there'll be recollections of jokes told by somebody who was probably the worst teller of jokes I've ever heard. And yet somehow you could not stop yourself from laughing. Such was the charm of our dear friend Derek Watts, who we celebrate here today. And I use that word very, very deliberately, because I know full well that if there is anybody I've ever met who even in a situation such as this would have found a reason to smile and a reason to laugh, it would most certainly have been Derek. And I suspect the only thing he's probably annoyed at right now is that he can't be here with all of his friends enjoying the celebration. But his presence is most certainly here, and not just in this room. Over the course of the last week, the outpouring across social media of love and affection and adoration for somebody most people really only knew from their television screens once a week, or from once 15 years ago have bumped into him in a spa in Bolito and ended up having a 20-minute conversation. Everybody felt that Derek was their friend. And I think that is such a wonderful quality. It's that brings us all together today, and it is that which we celebrate. I have many wonderful memories of Derek. He was a great friend. He was somebody who was always on the other end of a phone, somebody always happy to hang out and do cool stuff. This is an appropriate venue in terms of my relationship with him, because some of the worst golf I've ever seen played was by Derek Watts on this very golf course. But as bad as the golf often was, so the company was always sparkling. And that's something everybody has recalled over the last week. That company, being in Derek's company, was always just fun. And of the many stories I can recall, and the one I'll kick off with before we begin our proceedings in earnest, is one that's already been mentioned by a number of people, including a beautifully touching tribute from David O'Sullivan, who was on the wrong end of probably Derek's favourite thing to do. And with apologies to his carte blanche colleagues here, it wasn't being on carte blanche. It was playing jokes on people, having fun, and being a jester. And at my wedding, Derek, who'd been spending most of the evening chased around the dance floor by the mothers of my wife's friends, Derek always insisted it was the other way around. He got hold of a bottle of tequila. And he managed to persuade a number of people that a triple tequila on the rocks would not only not make you drunk, it would actually sober you up. And believe it or not, David O'Sullivan was one of those people who believed him. The wedding was on a Saturday. At that stage, David was on 702. If you listened to his show on Monday afternoon, a talk show, it was 3 hours of music, as poor Mr. O'Sullivan was still recovering. And I remember that Derek was immensely proud of that particular achievement. So we celebrate Derek today with some wonderful memories, with some great friends, with some terrific recollections of somebody who was quite simply a national treasure. But we also celebrate the three people he adored above all others. Ty, Kirst, Belinda, three people who absolutely adored, and three people who shared so generously a husband and a father with so many of us, not just in this room, but everybody across South Africa. It seems like Derek's got about 60 million close personal friends based on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram over the course of the last week. It's some of the closer, dearer, and longer held ones, though, who are here today and who we will be hearing from as we pay tribute to this quite remarkable man. And we kick off, first of all, with an opening prayer from Gaynor. Gaynor is not with us today, but I will ask you to just quietly listen in as she gets us going. Thank you.
Father, thank you for my beloved brother, Derek. Thank you for the extraordinary man he was and the extraordinary life he lived. Thank you for the love, the compassion, and the kindness he had for humanity and for his family. Thank you for the honor and the privilege of being his sister. Thank you for the light he brought into the darkest of situations. Thank you for his ever-ready laugh and his amazing attitude to life. But above all, thank you for the assurance that we will be together again in the kingdom to come. For Jesus said, "I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live." Until then, my Dex, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and give you his peace. Shalom, my special little brother. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Gaynor. Heaven is without doubt a far more entertaining place as of now, although I suspect that there might have been a few worried looks at the gates if there was a camera crew in tow. There are so many wonderful friends here today, and I'd like to introduce the first of those to share his memories and recollections of our dear friend Derek. If I can ask you please to welcome up Paul Kelly.
Good morning, everybody. Could be quite tough getting through, but Derek and I had a saying we used to say to each other, and that was, "Courage, my love." And I can hear him saying that to me now. Courage, my love. To all friends, family, Belinda, Derek, Ty, and to everybody that knew Derek, I'm honored and I'm privileged to be able to spend this time with you, to remember Derek's life and his ongoing legacy. All of us are certainly the luckiest people in the room this morning, because all of you and each one of us have been touched so dearly and in so many different ways. And the truth is that if Derek was standing next to me right now, he'd probably have his arm on my shoulder. But he would also be so overwhelmed by all of you being here. And it's a true testament to my friend Derek. And as much as he was always in the limelight, Derek was a gentle soul. And he had time and patience for absolutely everybody. He was a great confidant. He always had the best advice to give. He would listen so intently, but he would look right at you. He would hear you and understand you. He'd always be engaged and offer his opinion, yet whatever that opinion was and whatever you decided to do, he would always support you. We were friends for many years, and I actually used to call him the Albatross. We played lots of squash together, and I can tell you that in all the years we played, I never beat him once. And not because he was good. It was because he had a wingspan. Like that. And he would always get to the ball. But the truth is that wingspan was the same with each of us in the way that he would be able to put his arms around us and He gave the best hugs, the best. But his reach with his arms was just phenomenal. Of course, I'd always get my own back on the golf course. Dan mentioned it a little bit earlier, and I think it was because of his arm span. Like, by the time the club came down, his arms had already gone past, so he just couldn't swing. It was the funniest thing to see. So I got my own back when we played golf together. When it came to others, Derek would treat friends and family alike. And if you were a stranger, you felt like a friend. You actually he just drew you in. Our other friends refer to Derek and describe him as being a remarkable human being. And what I know for certain is that everyone, bar none, who knew Derek, could describe him by these 10 words: respectful, honorable, sympathetic, supportive, trustworthy, compassionate, bold, dependable, engaging, and least of all, patient. You don't meet somebody like that every day. Derek was beyond thoughtful. He was one of the kindest and most compassionate people that I've met and will ever meet. He always made a special point to say thank you to people, even to the most insignificant person for their most insignificant thing. Derek would say thank you. Derek was the best offbeat creation, and he liked to do things in his own special way. And the best way that I can describe his life would be, he shaped his life like a sculpture. And so many people would walk up to Derek to just have a chat to him. In fact, I must say it was like a sculpture in a park, because everything just happened so slow when you went out with Derek. The pigeons could land on him. That's how long it took to go to an event or to go, even to try and get through a dinner. And let's face it, Derek was a pretty choosy guy, and he had taste when it came to picking his friends. And I must say, looking around the room today, I'm surprised that some of us even made the cut. I mean, for argument's sake, a very close friend, John Walland. John, I don't know where you are sitting, but I think your Christmas is going to be not as great this year because you're not going to be getting Derek's Pringle shirts. Those coffee chats, those times spent together will be cherished forever and for always. And Derek always used to say, do you know, none of us are getting out of here alive. He is right. And there's a saying that many people will walk in and out of your life, but only true friends will leave footprints in your heart. Losing Derek is akin to losing my mentor, a friend, and a family member. He's irreplaceable, and his loss will be felt deeply by all of us. But at the same time, how's it, Derek? I know that this loss is one that runs deep for many, but I also know that Derek wouldn't want us to sit around mourning his loss. Instead, Derek would want us to all look towards the future and think on what can we all do to make this world a better place. He left this world the same way that he lived, a true legend and a friend.
Thank you very, very much, Paul. I think you captured so much what is so special to Derek, and in particular, his genuine interest in other people, which in the age of the selfie and social media is certainly not universal. And I think that's what made Derek such a remarkable journalist, but it's what made him an even better person. He was genuinely interested in other people, and you captured that beautifully, Paul. Thank you. So many of South Africans remember Derek through his time with Carte Blanche. And so our next speaker is from the Carte Blanche space, or at least has been in the Carte Blanche space, has also been in the radio space, but I think is about to leave both of those to head off to America for a record deal on the back of his success as Banana in The Masked Singer, where he charmed us all with a musical talent we weren't all aware existed. A very close friend of Derek's, a dear colleague, and somebody for whom there was a great mutual affection and respect. I'd like to ask Bongani, along with Kimon, to join us. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I first met Derek in 2007, and I've told the story of how he was one of the first people I ever saw on television. And it was extraordinary to me that when we worked together, I can remember doing many a piece to camera, thinking how Derek might have done it, might have said it. And yet he was somebody who wasn't afraid to learn even from us, who were younger than him, who were less experienced than he was, and he would often tell us that. And one of the things that was sort of his signature line amongst the team was that thing that if you've got sincerity, if you can fake sincerity, you've got it made. So I'm a fake singer, but I'm going to try and celebrate Derek's life in a way that I think he would appreciate. As a special touch, I'm joined by Kimon, who is, of course, a son of one of the producers of Carte Blanche, somebody who practically grew up in front of Derek. And we're going to sing You Raise Me Up, because that's what he has done to us. And so, in the words of Shakespeare, good night, sweet prince, and flights of angels sing thee to thy rest. When I am down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shore. raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
Thank you, Bongani. That was a beautiful, beautiful tribute. And Kimon completing the perfect touch. So thank you both very much. An immense talent amongst everything else Bongani can do. Our next very special guest is somebody I've known for many, many, many years. And one of my first recollections was not of her in person, but of hearing a story being told about her by my good friend Gavin Varegis. Kirsty, as we all know, fought her own battle many years ago. And it was during that time, when she herself was in hospital, when she was asked by Gavin what she would like to do, what would she like to try and put a smile on her face, to try and make her feel a little bit better. And her response was both simple and incredibly unexpected. It was, I'd like to do something for the other kids who aren't as lucky as me. And she'd seen other kids who didn't have family visiting, friends coming to see them. And I remember Gavin was blown away, as was I. And that spoke to both an extraordinary person, but also somebody who has the spirit of two amazing parents flowing through her. And she also has a very naughty sense of humour. I've been a victim of it from time to time over the years. And she's a dear friend, a wonderful, wonderful daughter. And so together with her friend Dominique Gonelli, who is her best friend, I'd like to ask Kirsty to come and join us. Thank you, Kirsty.
What has come out of my dad's passing is the essence of how loved the man truly is. I have always known that he was appreciated and admired by many, but the fact that the nation has been grieving his death alongside our family is an acclamation to the man he truly was. Because he was a public figure and remained genuine throughout his life, even people who hadn't met him knew that he was kind-hearted, thoughtful, and brave. However, up until quite recently, when the Castle Light advert aired, many people saw him as quite serious, which was strangely so far from reality. Not only was he overloaded by dad jokes, but he always remained so young at heart And he had a wonderful, jovial spirit, which was just one of the innumerable reasons to why he was such a fantastic dad. As a child, he was always willing to play games with us. And we even had a secret handshake, which I'm embarrassed to say I was still doing with him as an adult. And like most parents have pet names for their children, my dad took the pet name for me a little too literally, as he called me Pooch. Yes, the name most of you would use to refer to your dog. But I was never offended by it. And I loved it because I knew that everything that my dad did came from a place of kindness. Truth be told, the nickname started as my beauty when I was born. But because I was an extremely chubby toddler and he was a very honest man, my beauty soon became my pootie, which somehow turned into Pooch. And that was it. I was his Pooch, and he was my Pupsy. And we united as Poochie and Pupsy, P and P. Whenever I was down or needed advice, my dad would always know the right words to say. And I knew that no matter what, he would never judge me and only give me love and support. From my earliest days, my dad was my rock, his strong arms, my sanctuary, and his warm smile, my safe haven. My dad had an extraordinary way of making everyone feel special. And if anybody ever came to our house, he felt that it was important that he made them feel welcome and that they had a good time. If it was the first time a friend of his was coming over for a dinner party, he would tell them that he had this amazing Danish beer that they had to try. Often they would enjoy the taste, and he would generously offer refills, up until the point that they were so confused to why they were slurring their words after only a couple of beers. It was only then that my dad would point out the fact that why he loved this beer so much was because it had double the alcohol percentage of any regular beer. Yes, my dad loved getting people slightly tipsy and ensuring they had fun. But he never actually drank much himself, which is just one small and very silly example of his strength of character. He was a man who always did his exercises twice a day, flossed every night. And even when we were on holiday, he would get up at 6 a.m. to go for a swim. Determination was only one of the many profound lessons my dad taught me. He also taught me to be grateful for everything I had. So as much as I am mourning his passing, I'm eternally grateful for the time we had. I truly had the best father in the whole world. Not only was he exceedingly patient, supportive, and loving, but he was also my best friend, the most incredible role model, and greatest source of entertainment. There was no ask that was ever too big for my dad, and if he could have given me, my mum, or my brother the whole world, he would have. Mum and Ty, I know that Dad loved you both immensely, and I know that he would be so proud to how strong and close we have all been and always will be because of the unity that he created between us. Over this past week, I've witnessed how his legacy lives on with us. Ty, you have been so dependable and strong. And Mom, you have continued to show generosity and kindness to everyone, even in a time of grief. I have no doubt that Dad would agree with me on how incredible you both have been throughout this extraordinarily difficult time. In fact, the only thing my dad and I ever disagreed about was whichever person loved the other more. And I always wanted to spend more time with him. So even though Uber existed and I could drive, I would ask him to take me to all kinds of places. Without even blinking, he would get up from whatever he was doing and say, "Your Pupsy Uber," often shortened by him to Poober, awaits. But that was my dad. He was extremely generous and selfless. He always gave to others, long before himself, and he continuously donated to so many people in need. But as many of us know, time is more valuable than money, and that is something my dad was willing to give to everyone, even complete strangers who thought it was extremely appropriate for them to pull up a chair and chat to my dad in the middle of a family lunch. My dad loved everybody. He treated every individual, no matter who they were or what position they held in life, with the same level of respect. And he never had a bad word to say about anybody. Which is why he was so great at his job. Not only did he want to help others, but he also was genuinely interested and had empathy for each and every individual. From the stories told by friends and colleagues, I know that my dad was successful in everything he did. From his days in the army, to selling the first computers, to running a squash center in KZN, and finally in all his days of journalism. However, because of the humility that ran through him, he never fully realized how great he was or how loved he was by all. The fact that today was given to us by a family friend who wanted to give my dad the best send-off possible shows us how he was able to touch the lives of many. Gavin Bridges, there you are, I was looking for you. I could never thank you enough for all that you have done for our family over the years. And the same goes to you, Tanya Harvey, who's standing out there, who committed the last week of her life to make today so very, very, very special. There are actually so many people I need to thank, but unfortunately, I don't have the time. However, I know that my dad would have wanted me to thank each and every one of you, including his fans and viewers. Dad, I hope that you are watching this so you can acknowledge what a remarkable human we all knew that you were. There are not enough words for me to express the gratitude I have for all that you did for me, for the eternal love that I have for you. There were so many things in life that I still wanted to experience with you. And I know that nobody will ever be able to make me feel as special and as loved as you did. Although for now, it is difficult to see beyond the sorrow, I can find peace in the fact that my dad lived a full life. And this is encapsulated by the words of Nelson Mandela, who once said, "What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we led." Dad, I know that you will be remembered forever because you truly made this world a better place. And it is impossible for me to say goodbye to you. So for now, all I can say is cheers for now, Papsi. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirst. That was a brave and beautiful and intimate snapshot. I think we're all thinking, I wish Derek had been my dad too. It's just amazing. So thank you for sharing that and sharing it so bravely with all of us here today. Our next speaker was mentioned just a moment ago. Gavin Vareges is somebody I got to know particularly well through the Watts family. As a family, the Watts are just brilliant at connecting people and helping you to form friendships with others. And Gavin has become a good friend of mine through the Watts family. He's somebody who's known for many, many things, but in particular his generosity, and I think more generosity of spirit than anything else. And he was a particularly close friend of Derek's and a cherished, cherished friend of the family. So I'll ask him to please come up. I think he was just a year or two above Derek at school. I can't quite remember, Gavin. But please welcome up a dear, dear friend of the family's, Gavin Vareges.
Kirst, I wish I'd spoken before you. Whew. Morning, everybody. My name is Gavin Vareges, and I'm a very, very... I've got to compose myself here, Kirst. I'm just a local businessman and a very... Thanks, Dad. Close friend of the Watts family and a very proud trustee of the Kirsty Watts Foundation. It's my great honor and privilege to be able to share a few wonderful stories about Derek's life that not many people may know about. 15 years ago, when I met Kirsty was diagnosed with a malignant brain tumor. And I was sitting with Derek and I said, I need to meet Kirsty. And Kirsty came through. I remember we were across the road at the Fauna's coffee shop. You remember that, Kirsty? And Kirsty came through and I think she weighed 45 kilograms. She didn't have a hair on her body from all the chemo and the radiation and all the treatment. And she had this port dripping blood out of her shoulder. And I remember I was so taken with her, and I just said, Kirst, what do you want? I just wanted to get her something. And Dan just alluded to it. Kirsty said, I just want to be able to help people who are less fortunate than I am. And from that day, the Kirsty Watts Foundation was founded, and Derek was the backbone of that foundation. And the Kirsty Watts Foundation, it's managed by Belinda and Kirsty, and it really achieved huge success and greatness in helping people, in Kirsty's words, who are less fortunate than herself. I'd like to share some of those amazing successes with you. Completely demolishing and rebuilding the children's psychiatric ward at the Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital, providing prosthetic limbs for amputees, for kids after amputations. And I'd like to share with you also that the Kirsty Watts Foundation provided more prosthetic limbs than the South African government did over that period. Creating a sensory room for the Mahato School for autism in Soweto. Numerous renovations at hospitals and schools around the country. Running soup kitchens during COVID, which fed thousands of people in need. And of course, who could forget the most joyful Christmas parties? And Derek was always the backbone of that. And people didn't get to know about those amazing things that he did. And as everyone's been saying, Dee had this amazing sense of humor. I remember the one and only auction I ever did was at a Kirsty Watts Golf Day. And Dan emceed it. It was a wonderful golf day. And we had a piece that it was, the piece of memorabilia was framed, but it wasn't shown to the audience. And I had to auction this piece off. And the piece, actually, Derek didn't know about it either, and he started bidding as well for this amazing piece. And we actually sold the piece for 20,000 Rand. It was a one-off. It was the only one in the world. And who would have believed that somebody would have paid 20,000 Rand for Derek Watts' Speedo that he wore in a shark dive that was on TV, and that Kirsty and Belinda had stolen from his cupboard? Well, we certainly are here. Who bought it? There's the wonderful guy who bought the costume and stuck 20,000 Rand into the Kirsty Watts Foundation. Thank you. Please don't tell me you're wearing it today. And we really are here to celebrate Derek's wonderful life. And I tell you, in all those, in the 20 years that I knew Derek, I never ever saw him in a bad mood, ever. And even through his severe illness and the virus, which literally crippled him a few months ago, he never once complained and always said, if Kirsty can beat it, so can I. And Derek was one of those guys who really believed in that saying, live every day like it's your last, because one day you're going to be right. And that's how we all should be living it. Many companies, when taking a product or an idea to market, would ask, does it pass the Derek Watts test? Because that was the test of integrity. A standard in which Derek was totally unyielding and absolutely uncompromising. In Derek's career, things that people didn't know, that he test drove hundreds of cars, and Ty, you drove a lot of those cars with Dad. And I'll tell you something, if Derek wasn't a TV anchor, I reckon he would have been the Stig on Top Gear with Jeremy Clarkson. A few weeks back, breweries asked Derek if they wanted him to pull his ad because he wasn't well. And Derek said, are you crazy? When are we going to do the next one? Derek gave hope to millions of South Africans through his TV profile, but through the Kirsty Watts Foundation, few people know the huge and significant role that he played with Belinda and Kirsty in really doing it on the ground. I can't tell you how privileged and proud I am to sit as a trustee on the Kirsty Watts Foundation. Thank you, guys. Belinda, Ty, Kirsty, you always had to share Dad with the world. But first and foremost, it was you guys who he absolutely adored. I'd like to share a poem that my good friend and rugby legend Johnny Allen sent to me, which truly encapsulates Derek's wonderful life. And the poem is, God looked around his garden and found an empty place. He then looked down upon the earth and saw your tired face. He put his arms around you and lifted you to rest. God's garden must be beautiful. He always takes the best. He knew that you were suffering. He knew you were in pain. He knew that you would never get well on earth again. He saw the road was getting rough and the hills were hard to climb. So he closed your weary eyelids and whispered, peace be thine. It broke our hearts to lose you, but you didn't go alone. For part of us went with you the day God called you home. From every South African, hamba ngokutulo mfuwetu mkulu Derek. Siza sibunani futi. Go in peace, our big brother Derek, until we meet again. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much indeed, Gavin. No, just an amazing dad, an amazing friend. Just more wonderful, wonderful memories. What of Derek, though, as a sibling? I can imagine, particularly in the younger years, being on the wrong end of Derek as a naughty brother might have posed a challenge or two. We are not joined in person by siblings, sadly, but we do have some messages from them. And I must provide just a little bit of context before we cross to Gaynor and to Roy. The messages you're about to see were recorded a couple of years ago. So speaking very much of Derek in the present, although today I feel that's kind of appropriate, as they remember their brother and the remarkable man that he was to them. So take back a little bit of time travel a couple of years back, and here are Gaynor and Roy remembering very fondly their brother.
I taught him to do so many things, which he eventually did much better than I did in everything, especially things like squash.
He's a very humble person, and he will always take time out with people, no matter who they are, kings or paupers. It's the same with Derek, and I think it's that kindness that comes across.
Derek and I know everything about each other because he's now looking after me after I looked after him.
Derek has that inbred sense of family being of utmost importance.
Yeah, do we do with the elbow?
Okay, you can shake it.
Awesome choice.
A few thoughts there from Roy and from Gaynor. The sense of family has been stressed, so important to Derek, so too his work family. And for me, one of the more idiosyncratic elements of the Carte Blanche world was that there was a good cop and a bad cop. And the good cop was 6'8". And no matter who he was talking to, they somehow always felt they were talking to a friend. And then the bad cop was about that size and would terrify the living daylights out of anybody who ever saw her. And they made a wonderful, wonderful team, two very distinct approaches, but two people who so admired and respected the work that they did in their space with Carte Blanche. Sadly, she can't be with us here today. She's definitely terrorizing somebody somewhere today, but she is here with a message for her, not just colleague, but dear friend Derek, Devi, with some words. Thank you.
So here's the thing, I've been trying to write this tribute for days, and I found every single excuse in the book just not to buckle down and get it done, and I know why. It's because this celebration of Derek's life makes it all so real. So I'm just going to say what needs to be said. Derek was my television dad. You know, I was 15 when I first saw him on Carte Blanche, and I joined the show when I was in my late 20s, and by that stage the show was already 14 years old. I was so starstruck when I met Big D, and it was at an editorial meeting, but he made me feel like an equal right off the bat. So guess what? I behaved like one. For my 18 years at Carte Blanche, as I grew, Big D was always a telephone call away. And it was a privilege that I used very, very often. And when I took that heart-clenching decision to leap off the cliff, he was also there at my final broadcast and on the telephone as I navigated my way through life away from the only television family I knew. He was always so encouraging. To Belinda, Tyron, Kirsty, thank you for sharing Big D with the entire country. Now, I'm not there because the show has to go on, right? So I'm busy chasing crooks, and I'm going to give them hell because legends like Derek, Ruda, Manu Padiachi led the way, because countless producers who crafted what us presenters did in the field, they crafted it into layered, meaningful narratives. And perhaps that's the lesson. Why don't we just say what needs to be said when people are alive? Because that's what really counts. But memories are immortal, Derek, and so is the contribution that you made, not just to my life, but to the country.
Thank you very much, Debbie. We do have one more Carte Blanche contribution just later, but now I'd like to drop back to the family. And as somebody I first met, I was trying to remember this time. I think it was New York, and I think in the spirit of Men of the Watts family, I think you led me astray when we were in New York, and did so very comfortably, which pointed out exactly whose genes you had in you. And I remember your parents talking so fondly about you, and they were so excited that I was going to see you. And since then, through your mum and dad, we've developed a friendship. And whenever I caught up with your dad, he was always so excited to tell me what you've been up to, or he'd phone me up to see if we could play some golf together. And of all the many attributes that I've got to discover in you, as a parent, there's no more important legacy than your kids. And you have the kindness and the generosity of spirit that your dad has. And I know how proud he was to be able to call you his son and to be your dad. I know you have some words which you've asked me to say on your behalf, and I do so very proudly. So these are a few words from Tyron to his dad. My dearest dad, my hero, my best friend, and constant supporter. It is impossible to put into words the pain and loss I'm feeling right now with you leaving us. You are the only role model I've ever needed. You showed me compassion, gratitude, generosity, humor, humility, grace, and unconditional love like I've never felt before. You not only inspired our family, but inspired an entire nation. I couldn't be more proud to be your son, to have seen how deeply you are loved and admired by the countless lives you touched reminds me just how lucky I am to be able to call you my father. Thank you for always being the one to stand by my side, no matter how dark or difficult things got. Dad, you're the greatest man I have ever known, and I will do everything to live a life in your magnificent legacy. Love you always, Dad. Thank you, Ty. I'd now like to welcome up another good friend of Derek's and another musical act with a tough act to beat after Bongani earlier. If I can ask Ross Learmonth to please come and join us up on stage. Thank you, Ross.
Come up to meet you, tell you I'm sorry. You don't know how lovely you are. had to find you, tell you I need you, tell you I set you apart. Tell me your secrets, ask me your questions. Oh, how away you are, running in circles, coming up tails, heads on a science apart. Nobody said it was easy. It's such a shame for us to part. Nobody said it was easy. No one ever said it would be this hard. I'm going back to the start. I was just guessing, numbers and pictures, pulling the puzzles apart. Questions of science, science and progress could not speak as loud as my heart. So tell me you love me, come back and haunt me. Oh, when I rush to the start, running in circles, building our tails, going back as we are. Nobody said it was easy. Oh, it's such a shame for us to part. Nobody said it was easy. Nobody said it would be this hard. I'm coming back from the start.
Thank you very, very much, guys. Some timeless snapshots of a proud son and an even prouder father. I must point out that was a very specifically chosen song from Ty, and I don't think there could have been a more apt one. And I think, Ty, your dad would have probably said to Ross right then, "Oh, geesh, I love the Parlotones." I think I'd probably... So, Ross, thank you very, very much indeed. At a number of occasions already today, the difference between the Derek that so much of the world thought they knew, the rather steely and slightly fierce character on television, is in such contrast to the person his friends and family knew, who was so full of fun and so full of levity. And somebody who understood that more than most was someone who saw very intimately both sides. Derek, the professional journalist, and he always stressed he was a journalist. He didn't like the term celebrity, much as he was one, but also Derek the friend, and Derek the confidant and the intimate sidekick, I think, within the Carte Blanche team. So to deliver a tribute to Derek, I'd like to ask John Webb to please come up. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Dan. It was Charlotte's Web for you. I'm afraid that I cried in the final of MasterChef, so the signs are not good. Keep it simple. That's what Derek would be saying to me now. Just keep it simple. It's easy for you to say, Derek. Keeping it simple is a skill many of us find elusive. We tend to be terribly impressed with ourselves and have turned complicating simple things into a fine art. Derek never suffered the same affliction. He kept things simple, authentic, real. In the thousands of messages, memories, and reflections that followed his passing, it struck me that Derek's most profound impact is that everyone, even those who only met him fleetingly, and some who never met him at all, understood who he was, understood what Derek represented. Even in television, notoriously superficial at times, he was never anything more or anything less than Derek. And people loved him for that. Among his many attributes, Derek was one thing above all else. He was so very, very tall. He smiled often, joked a lot, took enormous interest in other people's lives and their stories. But I think that we can all agree, he was always so very, very tall. Surely that's the reason he once got a smile and a few words from Queen Elizabeth in London while he was on a story. I've often wondered about that moment of how things looked from the Queen's point of view. As she turned, she would have seen a slender, tanned, and smiling South African towering above the scowling British hacks from the BBC and the Daily Mail. Maybe there was an instant connection through their shared love of Scotland, the Queen through her beloved Balmoral Castle, Derek through his beloved Pringle shirts. Call it fanciful, but I like to think that she recognized in Derek the attributes that we all found so captivating and worthy of a smile and a brief exchange. Then again, I'm not convinced that Derek even considered that one of these seminal moments in his career. Far more important to him, in between the adventures that took him to Everest, to Russia, the Persian Gulf, and most places in between, were the conversations with what we blithely call the ordinary people. And it was, I'm sure, the same warmth, the same smile, the same authenticity, the same courtesy that gained their trust, that made them feel comfortable saying things to Derek they might not share with anyone else. Yes, Derek was so very, very tall, but he would have to be to fit in all that warmth. And now here we are, paying tribute to him in the past tense, exhausting every conceivable adjective to paint a picture of a man it's surprisingly difficult to describe. Keep it simple, he'd say. Just keep it simple. Simple in this instance is to borrow someone else's words. They're from a poem inscribed on a tombstone not far from where my mother is buried. It's by Claire Harner. Shades of MasterChef kicking in. Do not stand by my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am the thousand winds that blow. I am the diamond glints in snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. As you awake with morning's hush, I am the swift, uplifting crush of quiet birds in circling flight. I am the day, transcending night. Do not stand by my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. My deepest condolences to Belinda, Kirsty, and Tyrone. Your husband, your father, was a remarkable, remarkable man. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much indeed, John. Again, summing up Derek so wonderfully. I have some words from a tower of strength who sits amongst us. Somebody who I have been bossed around by on numerous occasions when I've needed to do things for her numerous charitable endeavors. Somebody who has this remarkable ability to cast a spell over people with one phone call without realizing you've suddenly agreed to do all manner of stuff for her incredible foundation, and with a very open and happy heart, because that is exactly who she is. And whether it be the last week or so, or the many, many years beforehand, as somebody whose courage and whose dignity and his inspiration has enveloped all of us, today is almost as much a tribute to you, Belinda, as to Derek. And we know how close the two of you were. We also knew, particularly in my family, and I think this applies to pretty much everybody, that when you got an invitation to the Watts' home, you were A, extremely lucky, B, you were going to have incredible food and drink, probably too much of the latter, and the former not served terribly early because Derek was normally on the braai, and the next morning might be a little fuzzy when you got up to begin the following day. An extraordinary team. And Belinda, you have some words you've asked me to share. Just before we do that, though, just a tribute to you for everything you've done. I know how genuinely adoring of Derek he still is. And it gives me great pleasure to share a few words from Belinda. My darling babe, I cannot eloquently put in words just how much you enriched my life through your unconditional love. You and our beautiful children are my everything. You gave me all the love and the security I always needed, and I will love you till eternity. I dedicate this song to my forever memory of you, because nothing compares to you.
I don't know how we got here. I don't know if there's a reason I let you into my life. Now I gotta let you leave it, even if it's hard, even if it's for the best. I know that in 20 years from now I still think of you and say, no one else will ever compare to you. And never forget you. You live on in my head like a 90s cassette. Play it over and over again, because no one else will ever compare to you. They'll never compare to you. I'll hold your hand one last time, memorizing the feeling. You don't have to say a word. We can sit here breathing. it's hard, even though it's breaking me. I know that I'm better off because of you, but honey, I'm afraid no one else will ever compare to you. And I will never forget you. You live on in my head like a 90s cassette. Play it over and over again, because no one else will ever compare to you. Ever, they'll never compare to you. Ever, they'll never compare to you. You told me to love, to be myself, and I'm moving on, but I know no one else will ever compare. You live on in my head like a 90s cassette. Play it over and over again, because no one else will ever compare to you. Ever, they'll never compare to you. Ever, they'll never compare to you. Ever, never compare to you. No one else will ever compare to you.
He was indeed an incomparable man, but one with an incomparable wife, mother, and best friend. Belinda, thank you. Just before we wrap up our celebration of Derek, a few words of thanks from another dear friend of the family, someone I know has been a great source of strength over the last week. I'd like to welcome up, as we come towards the end of today, Alan Ford. Alan, thank you. Cheers.
Good afternoon. I am honoured to be asked to give the vote of thanks today. Thank you, Stuart, for always being a source of strength, especially during this difficult time, to Belinda and the family and to your children. It's been hard to see the pain. Thank you. Thank you to Gloria, Mart, and Grant for all your love, and you are very sincerely missed here today. For all of those who travelled so far for the Watts family, like Adrian from London, your kindness and your effort is genuinely appreciated. Thank you to the tributes, the beautiful voices of Ross and Bongani, and for all the beautiful speeches that you gave, gentlemen. A very special thank you to the Bryanston Country Club and the management and staff for hosting Derek's memorial. Derek was always very proud to be a part of the Carte Blanche and Mnet teams. His weekly evenings, where he appeared amongst us all in our homes, hit the hearts of many millions of South Africans. Thank you to the viewers and the team at Carte Blanche for your love and support to Derek over his career, in particular over the past few months. Thank you, Combined Artists, for providing the content today and for the AV equipment that you've compiled in this program. I started my radio career with you, John Webb, and the family would like to thank you. You are the same kind, compassionate man. It's an honor to listen to your speech today. And Norms, you've been extremely kind and patient. Derek was inspired by the Adcock Ingram OTC Sponsors of Brave campaign, encouraging South Africans to do the right thing, the remarkable manner in which Derek embraced his health journey demonstrated to all who witnessed that he was very, very brave. All of Adcock Ingram OTC were honored to work with him. The family would like to thank you for your support. To all involved in the Kirsty Watts Foundation, a very big thank you throughout all the years, and who's ever contributed. Dan, for all your MC work that you've done for that foundation, for what you've done here today. For the gentleman who bought the Speedo, I've got a much bigger pair, it's worth more money, I'll bring it next one. In lieu of the flowers, if you have a few pennies lying around and you'd like to make a phenomenal contribution, please go to the website. It's really easy to do. It's www.kirstywattsfoundation.org, and you can make a contribution in lieu of flowers to that organization. Does some great stuff. Gavin Vareges, your constant support to Derek, Belinda, Tyrone, Kirsten has never gone unnoticed. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity in giving Derek this magnificent send-off. And especially for blessing us with Tanya. Tanya, you've given your time. Thank you so much for what you've done today. You're a mensch. It's a good Yiddish word. And thank you for what you've done for this arrangements and for doing all of this. Gavin, I want to just tell you, your kindness has never gone unnoticed to so many people. And I remember what you did for my friend Joos van der Westhuizen, our friend, and so many other people. So you are a very good, kind man. And it's an honor to have known you. And like meets like. You mirrored your friend Derek and he mirrored you. So thank you very much. Derek was a fierce journalist, always hungry for the truth and fearless in his approach. To the media, I see so many of our colleagues, David O'Sullivan, Mandy, Jackie, so many of you amongst us here today. You are his colleagues. Thank you for the coverage and the tributes, radio stations, television stations across the board that you have done. He was very proud to be a part of your fraternity. He's probably be a part of this fraternity. To the millions of South Africans who have prayed for Derek in his illness and sent so many messages and tributes, thank you so much. Finally, it goes without saying that Derek would want me to thank and recognize the extent, love, and appreciation he had for his beloved, magnificent wife, Belinda, his children, Tyrone and Kirsty, for whom he was extremely proud. You were his purpose in life. You were his joy in the good times and his strength in the bad. May you be blessed with the love and the strength to go forward, honoring Derek's legacy. Today, I thank you for your time. And Derek, may your dear, dear, beautiful, brave soul rest in peace.
Thank you very much indeed, Alan. I can almost hear a voice in my ear from Derek saying it's definitely time for a drink. And there is a sense of celebration today. And so the family would like you, if you are able to please stay on, to join us outside for something to eat, to raise a glass, be it of 12% strength Danish beer or triple tequila, and pay tribute to our wonderful friend. And I leave you in farewell, echoing Kirsty a little earlier, Derek's catchphrase of cheers for now. The for now part always suggested it was only a temporary farewell, but we'd be seeing him again soon. There might be a little more finality perhaps today, but Derek's strength of legacy, his incredible group of friends, and his quite wonderful family, means this is a memory that's not going anywhere soon, and a person who is not ever going to be forgotten. Thank you again so much for being with us today, for supporting today. Please do stay and join us. Enjoy a drink, and thank you for being part of today. Goodbye.
Lost everything to you. You say you wanna start something new, and it's breaking my heart you're leaving. Maybe I'm grieving, but if you wanna leave, take good care. Hope you have a lot never wanna see you sad, girl. Don't be a bad girl. But if you wanna leave, take good care. Hope you make a lot of nice friends out there. But just remember there's a lot of bad and beware. Beware. Oh baby, baby, it's a wild world. It's hard to get by just upon a smile. Oh baby, baby, it's a wild world. And I'll always remember you like a child, girl. Baby, I love you, but if you wanna leave, take good care. Hope you make a lot of nice friends out there. But just remember there's a lot of bad and beware. Oh baby, baby, it's a wild world. It's hard to get by just upon a smile. Oh baby, baby, it's a wild world. I'll always remember you like a child, girl. Oh baby, baby, it's a wild world. And it's hard to get by just upon a smile. Oh baby, baby, it's a wild world. And I'll always remember you like a child, girl.
Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. She took the midnight train going anywhere. Just a city boy, born and raised in South Detroit. He took the midnight train going anywhere. A singer in a smoky room, a smell of wine and cheap perfume. For a smile they can share the night. It goes on and on and on and on. Strangers waiting up and down the boulevard. Their shadows searching in the night. Streetlights, people living just to find emotion. High
some quiet conversation. She's coming in 12:30 flight. Her moonlit wings reflect the stars that guide me towards salvation. I stopped an old man along the way, hoping to find some old forgotten words or ancient melodies. He turned to me as if to say, hurry boy, it's waiting there for you. Gotta take the life to drag me away from you. There's nothing that 100 men or more could ever do. I bless the rains down in Africa. Gotta take some time to do the things we never The wild dogs cry out in the night as they grow restless, longing for some solitary company. I know that I must do what's right, sure as Kilimanjaro rises like Olympus above the Serengeti. I seek to cure what's deep inside, frightened of this thing that I've become.